someone is going to indoctrinate them anyway. They can go to school and be indoctrinated in the theories that they've been taught there, or they're going to learn this as truth. Hi guys, I'm the one in 1.3. Welcome to the family. So I had a request from Virtuous Woman, I think it was. I need to double check that. And the question was really about why I chose to use the ICCE curriculum with my children. So I thought I'd talk to you about that very briefly today, and maybe you can get some insight into whether or not that will be a good curriculum for you to use or not. So the ICCE curriculum comes under the framework of the Accelerated Christian Education curriculum. I have done a video about what the curriculum entails, baby. About what that entails. You can look at this video over here to find out more about the actual curriculum. But for me, the reason why I chose this curriculum for my children was because when I pulled them out of school back in 2013, we started off with a period of deschooling, which lasted maybe a couple of months. And within that time, I really focused on getting the house clean, like getting the house really organized, and really focused lots of heart issues. How do the children get along with each other? Really kind of trying to get to know my children again. So even though I knew them at a surface level, I knew what their characters were like. When I pulled them out of school, I got to really get an in-depth insight into some of the things that I had missed along the way. And we spent a lot of time like going to libraries, looking at what sort of books they could choose for themselves, and getting them involved in different clubs and stuff like that. So when it came down to the academics, I wasn't too sure which philosophy I was going to use as a homeschool parent, because if you're new to homeschooling, you'll probably realize that when you enter into the community, there's so much more educational philosophies out there that you kind of can't work out what you like and what you don't like, and what really fits your children, what doesn't fit your children. And I'm the sort of person, I'm very eclectic in style. I'm the sort of person, sort of mum even, that would like to try them all. Like if I find something that I like, I want to try them all. But obviously that was quite hard. So at the beginning we tried several different things like unit studies, and there's like a workbox method. There was Charlotte Mason, there was some kind of African studies. There was so many different things that I wanted to try with the children. So we started off with a few things. One of the first things we used was the Apologia curriculum for science, and we built our English around different workbooks and different things I was using at the time. And the Apologia of Science, what I liked about it was that we all got to study, it was like a multi-age type of curriculum where we got to study about the universe. We looked at astronomy basically, and I could teach that to all of my children at the same time. So I loved that. And we did projects, and we did lots of cutting and sticking and lots of discussions about it. And what I liked about that curriculum also was that it was coming from a biblical worldview. So we got to study and discuss things from the Bible as well, which was really informative and really helpful for my children. So we did that study. They loved it, absolutely loved all the experiments that we used and things like that. But what got me was that at the end of the year, when it was time to check what they'd known, they hadn't retained as much information as I would have liked. And I think at the time also they were being questioned quite a lot by some family members on their dad's side. They'd just be asked questions like, random maths questions they'd be asked, or random facts. My older boy started getting a bit panicked about it, started thinking like he doesn't know enough, because some of the questions that they were asking him, he wasn't able to answer. And I think at that point I felt like my children kind of, even though they was enjoying homeschooling, I think the academic side of things, they weren't quite secure in what their learning was. And I think I hadn't really...
I don't know about the capital city of India, but
I found
learning was, and I think I hadn't really established what their gaps were in their learning. I knew some things that needed to work on, like I knew that my second son needed to work on phonics, I knew that my daughter needed to work on her handwriting. Then I had a child who was going into year 7 after that first year, and I was like, okay, I don't know anything about the Key Stage 3 curriculum. I had to find a curriculum that was able to identify what their gaps were, that was able to assess them in their learning, and then we could start working from there. So I heard about the Accelerated Christian Education curriculum for quite a while, and I was thinking about it quite a lot, but I felt like it was a little bit expensive for our homeschool, and I wasn't too sure if it would fit into what the style of learning that we were already doing. So all I did, I googled it, I found the number of the company, I called them up, and I think that first conversation I had with one of the managers there, it kind of made me feel much settled in my heart that this would be the right curriculum for us. I was worried that I couldn't afford it, because you have like things called workbooks, and then you have paces, they're like the workbooks, and then you have something called school keys alongside it. I realized that within my budget I was able to afford the workbooks, but when it came down to also getting the answer keys, I was like, whoa, I don't know if I could afford this. I was encouraged to pray about it, see if that was what the Lord led me to, and he did so God led us to this curriculum. I felt like, okay, this is the right curriculum for them. So we started off with a diagnostic assessment that can be done for free online. I will leave a link down below as well in case you want to assess your children with it. The only thing about the assessment results is that it comes up in numbers of the books that you would need to buy for them, so you might need help deciphering it. I'm happy to help you do that. If you go to my website www.1.3family.com, I'm happy to help you decipher what those numbers mean. Yeah, so we did the assessment for them. I sent it off to the office and they told me where the children needed to work on. I was a little bit gobsmacked about some of the areas that they had gaps in, because some of it was a lot lower than their age, and then there were some areas where they were higher in their age, like the word building paces. My children were a lot higher than their age in those ones. But I just thought, I'm going to go for it. So I put some money aside each month and I started spending money on buying the paces. And when I gave it to the children to do, the children seemed a lot more calmer in their heart, and they felt as though they were learning so much more with these paces. It still had the element of science that they liked in it, from the biblical worldview, but just in a different way. So I think for me, it was more the fact that my children were quite comfortable with the curriculum, and they were very happy doing their workbooks. And we knew we had a shorter day because they had to do like maybe 3 or 5 pages per pace, and then we had the rest of the afternoon to do whatever we wanted. So I think for me, see my children adapt to it really well. They were learning really well, and when it came down to being questioned about things, I feel like they were much more confident in being able to answer people's questions about what they were doing in their homeschool. So that was my main reason for doing it. Also, I liked as well, it had a biblical element to it. Even maths is Bible based, but I quite like that. I was able to save money as well. I didn't buy any of the Bible paces because I managed to find a Bible school that we ran on a Thursday that we got to go together to, which was called Bible Study Fellowship, which is another website link I'll leave down below. So that kind of formulated our plan of my curriculum. That meant we were working on one book of the Bible every year that we could really focus on, that had homework in there. They can go to youth groups there as well, meet other children, socialise, things like that. And the rest of the curriculum that we were doing, the A.C.E curriculum, worked with that merged in as well. So for me, it worked really well. It was very organised. It was very structured. I think also for me as a primary school teacher, I quite like testing. Maybe that's a bit weird for a homeschool person to admit that, but I quite like knowing that my children are being tested, that I can see what they've retained, I know what they know. That's something that I just quite like in my homeschool. So with the A.C.E curriculum, after every booklet that the child does, there's an assessment in there to see if they're working, within the levels, and you cannot work less than 80%. If they work less than 80%, they have to repeat the pace to make sure that the knowledge is going in their minds. So I quite like that memorization of scripture, that reading the Bible together, the fact that the biblical side of things was taken care of. So I knew that even if you haven't read our Bible, even if you haven't read our Bible one day, on our personal side of studies, I knew that they were getting a lot of Bible knowledge within that curriculum too. That was my main reason. So once you've completed grade 7, you have to decide about whether or not you're going to continue with the programme, register for the programme. You've got to do another training course. You've got to pay a bit more money to register with them, or you can just dip off and do something else. So I asked the children and said, okay, what would you like to do? Would you like to do GCSEs now, or would you like to continue with the curriculum? But in my mind, I kind of knew in my heart that I would prefer them to continue with the curriculum. By the time you get to grade 8, it takes a lot of faith. There was loads of issues going on in terms of accreditation, because they had lost, I think they were losing one of the accreditations for it. So it felt like you had to kind of work out, will this work? If my children want to go to university or college, will they be able to get in? Can I put enough trust into this curriculum to know that it's going to be okay? Would I be in a situation where my kids might say to me, Mum, why did you make us do this curriculum? Now I can't go to the college I want. Now I can't go to the school I want. So I had to it took a lot of faith, a lot of prayer to kind of trust the curriculum. There were also friends around me who had decided to drop off the curriculum. They decided they don't want to do this curriculum. They're going to go for GCSEs instead. It wasn't working out for them based on it not being like a GCSE. So again, I want to do another video based on the comparisons of ICCE and GCSE, because they are very different. And the whole point of it is they never were meant to be the same. So for example, it follows more like a European structure, like the American structure, where everything's done in grades. So whereas maths, they will teach a lot of the maths, the same way that they do in schools up until grade 8. By the time you get to grade 8, it's more topical maths that they learn for the whole year. So in grade 8, it'll be algebra. Then in grade 9, it will be, I can't remember. I can't remember what they are. But the point is that it was taught in a very different way from the GCSE papers. Bailey. So what I decided to do was also give them GCSE papers every now and again, so that I would know that if they were to do a GCSE, would they be able to take the paper or not. So when they got to grade 8, they all did like papers on it. And actually at grade 8, if they did a GCSE paper, they would have got at least the foundational level of they would get like D's and E's, but that was at grade 8. You see what I mean? So it felt like taking a paper in year 8, they would have got a D or E in GCSE. So this showed me that, the curriculum was fine, because if they had like another 3 years, that meant that they would be able to go further in their studies, because it was giving them enough information in their mind. And the mastery side of things I really liked as well. My kids love the curriculum, and I think now that they're older and now they're going to further studies and things like that, they're all saying to me how wonderful the curriculum is, and how when they compare themselves to some of their friends, they're a little bit surprised as what some of their friends don't know, what they do know. So for example, the English is very detailed, it's very mastery based. So all of my children are very good at grammar and like parts of speech and spelling words and the etymology of a word. They know that on quite a deep scale. And that was also quite apparent for my daughter when she went for her interview. Because they noticed that her writing style was very different, and they were really happy to get to know how she learned and what her learning style was like. So yeah, so that's the main reasons as to why I use that curriculum for my children. I don't think I'd go back. Also, the literature books as well are very godly and very moral based. So my kids were constantly learning about character development, character issues, lots of different morals, lots of different ways of living as well. So there's no kind of controversy in there also. Another reason why I use the curriculum is because I believe in creation. I believe that God created us like maybe 8,000 years ago. I'm highly against the theory of evolution. I don't believe that we came from ape-like creatures. I don't believe that African people are more close to the ape-like creature. I believe that's part of the start of racism, of where racism came from, and I don't like it being taught as facts, because in the national curriculum, the national curriculum is very humanistic in nature, and I feel like children get taught that sort of stuff from a very young age, that they can't really always identify who they are. And I feel as though also parents can help their children as much as they can, and because children spend quite a long time at school, those philosophies can kind of seep into their mindset of how they understand certain things. I just didn't want that for my children. I wanted my children to know where they came from the very beginning, so that when they were introduced to evolution, it will be at a point when they already had a foundational knowledge of what the Bible says, what is truth within the Bible, and what is it we want them to believe. So obviously for me, I'm a Christian. I want my children to be a Christian. I want my children to be raised in a Christian household. And I say that unapologetically. So it's like, people might say you're indoctrinating your children in this theory, but it's like, okay, well, someone is going to indoctrinate them anyway. They can go to school and be indoctrinated in the theories that they've been taught there, or they're going to learn this as truth. I've also taught my children to take a second set of notes. Whenever they have something that comes to them that they learn, what is the alternative view? So all of my 3 children have learnt the core beliefs that I have held as their mum, and what the Bible says about what truth really is, absolute truth, but they also know how to check the alternative view as well. And I just believe that the A.C.E curriculum really does that. It's really strong in terms of biblical faith, and the Bible is the authority. There's also lots of groups you can go to. I set up my own homeschool group that I ran for 2 years, where they got to be amongst other children using the same curriculum, other like-minded people. They got to know what is it that we believe at our core. And I still feel like I see that within them as they've got older. So the Bible clearly says, train up a child in the way they should go, and when they are old, they will not depart from it. And my hope and my prayer is that they won't depart from any of these things. My children are not perfect. We had loads of issues along the way, but I do believe that that foundational homeschooling stuff that we've had has really benefited them. That's me saying that though. So what I'd love to do again, as you always know, I'm quite open with my children. I'm going to ask them if they would like to do a video on it to find out what, where they are right now. What's their belief systems like? If they want, they might not want to share, they might want to, it's up to them. But it'd be nice to know whether or not they think that curriculum helped them in that way. And yeah, that's it really. But I've kind of just spoken. There's been a bit of noise back here because my dog's just been really playing up today. But I hope you got something from the video. If you have any questions, as always, leave a comment down below. I'd also like to say as well, no, that's it, that's fine. All right, I'll speak to you soon. God bless. Bye.
Bye.
Bye from 1.3 family.